Filmmakers are romantics. We romanticize the past, nostalgia. Our favorite movies are usually movies we saw as kids. So that has kind of informed a lot of filmmakers and their style. We get these new cameras, and the first thing we try to do, we add diffusion filters to try to, take away some of that clinical sharpness, or we use programs to make it look almost like dreams or memories, this kind of nostalgic look and feel, that look of film. Hello, I'm Alexander Minnelli. I'm a documentary filmmaker based in northeastern Pennsylvania near Scranton. And for anyone wondering, we're filming on the Canon C80 right now, and we have the 35mm 1.4 EF Mark I. Give you some sense of the autofocus speed on a lens from, I think, 1997 or 98. This lens came out, so I'm here today trying out Dehancer, a film emulation software. I got an email from the folks at Dehancer asking if I wanted to review their software on my YouTube channel. I'm not being sponsored by Dehancer, but I do get lifetime access, and I do get a small royalty if you use my promo code purchasing Dehancer, so just have to get that out of the way. However, they did insist that I give an honest review because it helps them get better and make the program better. Okay, so here's Dehancer's website, dehancer.com. So I'm using Final Cut, so I would go to Final Cut plugins. Now, there is a few different options. So I'll be using Dehancer Pro. That's what we're going to look at today. You'll see every option they have, all the bells and whistles in Dehancer Pro. If you want something a little less expensive, there's Dehancer Lite. It is missing several of the features. We'll look at Dehancer Pro. If you scroll down, you can kind of see that little Pro logo there. That shows you what's only available in Dehancer Pro. So if you got the Lite version, you'd be missing some print films, halation, film breadth and gate weave, film damage, overscan, developer, compression. And are those important to you? If they are, you might want to consider the Pro version. If not, definitely go with the Lite version, because that's really the only difference, is just the absence of some of these things. So in the Lite version, you're still getting bloom, which I like a lot, film grain. So those are the different options that you have. You get a lifetime option, $450. If you use my code, Minnelli10, you get 10% off that. But the great thing about this is you can actually try it for free. So just go to Get Free Trial, and yeah, you get a free 2-week trial. So you can check it out, see if you like it, see if it is worth 3 months, 1 year, lifetime. I actually did do the free trial a couple of months ago, so that's why I was willing to review this program on YouTube, because I already kind of did like it, and I did know it a little bit. So, and then like I said, if you want to just use film grain or halation or bloom, you can just buy those individually. So let's go to bloom. Bloom is probably one of my favorite elements of Dehancer. It really kind of takes the place of a mist filter. It adds that nice glow, as you can kind of see here on this woman. Dehancer says that their program should go at the end of your color grading process. So if you're not a seasoned colorist, there is an order to color grading. You want your LUT transform to be at the end of the process. So if you do any kind of white balance or color correcting or any kind of fixes like that, they should go before the LUT. The only thing Dehancer recommends putting after their software is sharpening. So we have a clip in our timeline here. That is the interview clip from this video. So I thought I would just kind of show you how I color graded that with Dehancer. So the first thing is you want to go to Film Emulation down here in your effects, and there it is, Dehancer. Just drag that onto your clip, and it shows up over here. Now, you'll notice all of a sudden the image changed. This is one thing I don't like about Dehancer is when you put it on a clip, there's like a few settings that are just automatically on. And I don't like that. You have to go in and just turn these things off because you want to start with a clean slate, a blank slate. So I have to go in, turn off the film stock, turn off the expand option. Okay, so I think now, if you see, we toggle it on, off, no change. All right, so we have a blank slate here. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use the LUT in Dehancer. I'm not going to use the C-Log2 LUT that I typically use. They have a version of it built right in here. So you'll want to start right at the top, right here where it says source. It's at Rec 709. So Rec 709 is what you would keep it at if you put your own LUT on before going into Dehancer. Rec 709, if that's usually what you'd be using, but if you were using Rec 2020 or whatever, you can use that as your source. But let's go down, choose camera, and you go under vendor, and you see all these different camera vendors here. I'm going to choose Canon because this was shot on the C80. So right off the bat, it just goes to the default C200, but this wasn't on the C200. It was on the C80, and you'll see there's no C80 option. So I think the closest thing to do is pick the C70, and there we go. So right off the bat, we have a pretty contrasty, decent LUT to start with, the C-Log2 Cinema Gamut LUT, and that is the LUT I would have used from Canon. However, if you'll notice, let's do this. Let's add a custom LUT just to show you this slight difference. So I'll turn Dehancer off. I'll go into the LUT here. And I'm going to go down to Cinema Gamut Canon Log 2 to BT709YDR. And there's that. Okay, so that is just out of the camera, the basic C-Log2 LUT from Canon. And let's see what it looks like compared to the Dehancer C-Log2 LUT. So that's the Canon LUT. And that's the Dehancer version of that. To me, the Dehancer version looks slightly more saturated, especially in the skin tones there, in the mid-tones. Just so you see, there is a slight difference. Okay, so you have your LUT, you're ready to go. There's a million options you can start with. Maybe you got your exposure wrong, or you want to mess with the color temperature. You can do that right here, right off the bat. You make it warmer, cooler. I'm going to keep it as is. Same with the exposure. You can kind of play with that. Now, I'm not going to go through every single minute option that you can do to kind of alter or color your image. I would recommend downloading the 2-week free trial, seeing all of the different options. I'm going to kind of go through the bigger ones, the ones that I use. So next thing you want to do is pick out your film stock. Now, you don't have to do this part. You can skip that. You can literally just put on a LUT and maybe add some film grain or add some bloom or halation. You don't have to do a film stock, but I will do a slight film stock here. So you have all these different options, almost too many. It's kind of overwhelming. I don't think you can go through every shot and test every film stock. You're going to be there forever. So maybe in your free time, kind of go through them and see what you like. I think I used Canon Vision 350D. And then you'll want to hit this here to enable it. Now, it's not ready to go. I know you might be saying, oh, it looks a little green, it's a little washed out. That's just the stock, because then you're going to go to other options like your developer. So you'll turn that on. And here's where you can mess with contrast. You can correct the gamma if you want. Color boosts. That's basically saturation. That's a euphemism there for saturation. But you'll notice that there's going to be several color boosts throughout the different options. One is for the midtones, one will focus more on highlights, one more on shadows. Boost that a little bit and we're looking pretty good. Now, film compression. Basically what it does is reduces the highlight roll-off. So if you look over at the waveform over here, I'll put film compression on. Watch what happens to the highlights in the waveform. See, they go down. Off, on, off, on. You can see the highlights being kind of smushed a little bit. This is helpful in a lot of situations, especially maybe higher dynamic range shots if you're outside in sunlight. This gives that kind of soft feel to the highlights that really gives a filmic look. So film compression to me is very important. Now, it's not available in the light version of Dehancer. It's only available in Dehancer Pro. So keep that in mind. And then you can dial back the impact of it. So if you just want it subtle, I think we'll do a little subtle there. Color head. Now this lets you kind of really dial in all your different color options. I don't typically like to use this, so just to give you an idea, make it a little more yellow, a little more blue. I typically like my work to have a natural, organic feel to it. I don't like to over stylize things. All right, film grain. Let's turn that on, and it's defaulted right at 35 millimeter ISO 250, so not bad. But the good thing about grain is if you click here and you go up to custom, look at that. It gives you every option. You can dial it in exactly how you want. So, all right, so two of the more popular options in Dehancer are halation and bloom. So halation is this kind of glow, this red glow. Now, if you look at my skin, off, on, and look at my shirt. Look at the logo on my shirt. Off, on. And again, you can dial this in as much or as little as you want. A lot of people use it. They feel like it's kind of pleasing on skin tones. I actually don't really like it, but I know a lot of people like it. So I keep it off. However, bloom is something that I do use. Not a lot, not all the time, but let's put that on. So you see my face just kind of glow right there. Off, on. All your highlights are going to kind of have this little bloomy effect. Now, a lot of people will use filters to get a look like this. So I have the Polar Pro Everyday Filter by Short Stash, and you can go in and dial it in. I find if you go up to 8 millimeters, it's going to be the biggest. So it really adds like a dreamy look. This might be too much for this shot, but there are moments where this might work. You know, maybe you're doing a short film, like a sci-fi movie, and having those tube lights, having them kind of glow and be blown out like that really adds a nice cinematic effect. So overscan, this could be, again, this is a more creative, fun option. You can put kind of perforated film edges on your shot. So this might be interesting. Maybe if you're doing like an intro or opening credits for something, or just a stylized shot or a TV show. But yeah, probably not going to do a whole video with this option on. All right, vignette. Here's something I use, but I have a small complaint. Let's enable it. So vignettes are great. I use them all the time. However, I don't like that you can't see the shape of your vignette. So if you're adjusting the size, you're just kind of looking at the image. There's no wireframes. There's nothing to show where the actual darkening is happening. You just have to kind of look at the image. This is different from the Final Cut Pro version of Vignette. And look, the Final Cut Pro version of Vignette is not great. I would even argue that it's not very good. But it at least has these little kind of wireframes that let you know where the manipulation is happening, where your vignette is, how wide it is, how tall it is, all that. Okay, so this is an image that I'm semi-happy with. So let's toggle it off and on. Before, after. And again, I'm using it in a more subtle way. Okay, so I think we got it to a decent spot here. So this is the original raw Canon C-Log 2 Cinema Gamut, and then after with Dehancer. And then one final thing I want to talk about is LUT generator. So if you like the look, you can save it and create your own LUT, which sounds awesome. However, I tried this, and when you do save your LUT, all it does is it saves the film stock. It doesn't save all of the tiny little details and changes that you made. So I'll show you. We're going to do normal. Let's export the LUT. It's going to ask you what you want to name it. We'll just put Dehancer test. Save it to the desktop. So I'm going to click Dehancer off, add a custom LUT, and the custom LUT is where we'll find the LUT we just created. So we'll choose custom LUT. And then Dehancer test on the desktop. And there it is. So let's see how different it is from what we created. So that looks pretty good, but not the same. This is the original one. That's the LUT. I'm not sure why it does this. You can't save like the specific adjustments that you made within it. Like the vignette is not there, if you see. So this is the LUT. That's what we did. Notice the vignettes on the sides. So very strange. Don't know why it does that. The whole point of creating a LUT is to have specific details saved. That way, you know, you can replicate the exact look. So another small quirk that I hope gets fixed. Okay. One thing I wanted to add is they do have an app. So the app is pretty fun. You can just go through and play with your photos. Kind of similar to Instagram, but you get way more control, way more options. You pretty much get, I think, every option that's on the desktop version. So bloom, halation, film grain, the different film stocks, the iPhone, all these kind of smartphones today, they really kind of over sharpen their photos. So if you've ever taken a photo, sometimes you see it just kind of auto sharpen. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's pretty hideous. So what is the purpose of software like this? Why do we want these new digital cinema cameras to look like old school film? We get these new cameras and the first thing we try to do, we add diffusion filters to try to, take away some of that clinical sharpness, or we use programs like Dehancer to make it look like almost like dreams or memories, or this kind of nostalgic look and feel, that look of film. Nostalgia is appealing to everyone. And this also comes hand in hand with the contentification of everything, which is a whole nother topic. But the fact that everything now is evenly distributed as content, things like this help your film or your project stand out a little bit from the crowd. One thing I'm curious about, I'm talking a lot about nostalgia and that old school film look. There's a whole generation of kids growing up now, Gen Z, my children who are in Gen A, I don't think it has a nickname yet. They are going to grow up in a world where they probably don't see a lot of these old films. Not my kids. A 10-year-old today is never going to know who Billy Wilder is, and that's a shame. So I'm curious if this kind of analog film look will still be around in 20 years. Will it still be desired in the future? Will our children's children still care about 24 frames or looking like film stock? I don't know. So yeah. Thank you to the folks at Dehancer. If you have any questions, if there's something specific you want to see within Dehancer, just comment below. Let me know.